Welcome back. Time now for us to slice and dice the newspapers. But right before we get into that, I have to let you know this segment always brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And of course, they're offering you free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. If you don't check out your health could surprise you. It's like a car on which you don't do any maintenance, or you check some things and leave other things. And boom, someday you find out that your gearbox is out of shape, your engine is on full blast, it's getting out of order, and all of that. You need to check yourself out. Prostate, so little. It's very small, like a walnut or something, but it could mess you up. If you're a woman, your fertility, you take it for granted. Maybe you've not even given birth to children yet. It could compromise your ability to give birth to children. And even if you have, it could give you so many issues later on in life, which is why you want to be checking yourself from time to time. And the best place to do it, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are giving you all of these for free, screening for free. Reach out to them at any of their branches. Here in Accra, Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronumagwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Isiama Nzema. Their call lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But for now, let me bring you the NDC's parliamentary candidate for South Tongue in the person of Maxwell Lukutor. Good morning, Max. Maxwell, can you hear me? You'd have to unmute. If you can hear me, Maxwell, please unmute for me so I can hear you, even as I see it in your dashing green batakari with your hat. Okay, Maxwell is trying to. Okay, I can hear you now. The next time we go through this, I'm going to tax you.
Very well.
Agreed? We usually go through this. The next time I have to remind you to unmute, I'm going to tax you. Deal?
Apparently your sound was off and I was trying to find a way around it. So.
Oh, okay. So we found a way around it now. But thank you so much, Max. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Happy Independence Day has come to meet us, the 67th. And yesterday I was at the district level ceremony. You know, we have a new DCE. He was voted for just last week, Saturday. And this is his first official appearance in the public to perform his official duty as the new DCE of South Tongue. And so I was there in the company of the Member of Parliament and all other dignitaries in the constituency. And so, yes, we are happy that we have marked another day of our independence, and it's refreshing. It's good. We are okay, and we can be grateful to God because this is what we have, and this is what we can be proud of. It could be better than this, though, yes, but we can only thank God for how far He's brought us, yes.
All right, so as we usually do, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to dilate on anything that has really caught your interest. I mean, I don't think we've had an interaction since the SONA was delivered. There's also the case about the LGBTQ bill. There's the case about the National Cathedral. So many things. I don't know what you would want to talk about, but over to you. You have about 2 minutes, maximum 2.5 minutes. Tell us what's on your mind.
So it's about this LGBTQ I++ thing that Parliament has finally passed, to the joy of 98% or more of Ghanaians, because it looked like the larger population of Ghanaians, including parliamentarians, have agreed that we should put something in place to deter people from especially promoting these LGBTQI activities in our schools and on our little ones who they would want to indoctrinate. Some of us are so highly elated to have this law passed. It's unfortunate that the president is dragging his feet.
So the bill has been passed. It's not law yet. So it's not been made into law.
For it to be assented to by the president to become a law, yes. And so it's unfortunate that the president is dragging his feet. And even before the issue was taken to court, he preempted by saying that he knew somebody was taking it to court. The question is, how did you know that somebody was going to take the issue to the Supreme Court? Right. So I see it to be only for the economists. That is why he's dragging his feet. But apparently within his heart, I believe that he knows that this is what Ghana should be doing. And for me, in Africa, we are not the first country going to pass this law. Despite whatever the West will say about human rights violations and Odrigadekos and all the people in Ghana, I think that we have gone through the process and we are doing the right thing. They are just making commentaries.
Is that to say that you are not concerned about any human rights questions that may be raised on it?
It's not that I'm not concerned about any human rights these things that will be raised. This bill has gone through a lot of layers. I'm sure the human rights community has been consulted. They made their input. Parliament looked at it. We have gone beyond those stages.
The committee had its sittings, and some of them came and also made their presentations. That's true.
So for me, I don't know what else they are talking about now, because Parliament has been so meticulous with these things. It was the last stage that Penumaki was trying to pull some strings. I don't know for what reason, but I'm sure we've gone through that stage, and all he said, the president should just assent to it. Yes, there's civil societies, Peace Council, Charismatic Churches Council, and all those other groupings who were for the bill. Let's make noise now and allow the president to sign, so that it doesn't look like it's a personal thing he's doing. I know the West is putting some pressure on him, and then they are threatening, especially about the economics. But for me, this is what we want for ourselves. And nobody, we are a sovereign state, nobody can dictate to us what we should do with ourselves. And so I think that we should just assent to it.
Anyway, even as you talk about that, Ghana Beyond Aid comes to mind. When you want to do these things, you might as well be self-sufficient in many ways as well, but you are taking money from the very same people who are in support of this. So you see here, you put your money where your mouth is. You want to do bele. Where's your money to even fund your budget? Your own budget, you can't fund it, and you need donor support. I guess all of that must be factored in, mustn't it?
Yeah, sure, it has to be factored in. But at the end of the day, for me, so that's why I am seeing President Nana Akufo-Addo as just being a rhetoric. He brings out many cliches, and he doesn't live to any of them. Ghana Beyond Aid, making Ghana the cleanest city, or Accra the cleanest city in Africa within how many years? 2-3 years, and we are in the 7th, almost ending the 8th year, and we aren't seeing anything. For me, so yesterday when I was listening to him at the 67th anniversary celebration, just making statements, I was just laughing, I was just giggling, because I know these are things he does, and he doesn't mean them. What do we mean by Ghana Beyond Aid? What has he done about it? Where are we now? Now that people have to dictate to us whether we can pass laws in our own sovereign state.
The president says he's proud of his record, of what he's done and what he's leaving behind. And other things he's also done. He promised free SHS. He's delivered. He promised 1D, 1F, among a number of other things. And he's delivered, hasn't he?
He's delivered the 1D, 1F where? How many of them? Where
At least,
are they?
No matter how many, I've been a chief critic of 1D, 1F, but he's built some. He's also supported some others. At least he's done something.
You see, for me, this was just dancing around the like musical chair, dancing around the chair and coming to sit on one. How many chairs do we have? About 15, and then you dance around, you sit on one, you wake up again. There are a lot of establishments that already existed, and out of nothing, they decided to give them tax rebate to absorb them into this 1D, 1F. Look at B5. What has it done specially about B5 to make it a 1D, 1F?
You're talking about the steel manufacturer or producer, B5 in Tema, right? Yes. Anyway.
Yes. So, and many other companies that were already in existence, you just come and put some 1D, 1F signboard on the industry and claim it is a 1D, 1F thing. So for me, it's not really anything that we can tout.
But for some of them, the support was largely through maybe tax waivers and other things. That wouldn't be something that you would be able to quantify, but they would.
No, but the issue is that, you see, if we are looking for more money and we are taxing everything, including the bet that our little ones go through and our Momo transaction and all those things, why do you go and give tax rebate to somebody who is already established and doing good in his business just because you want to add a 1D1F establishment name to whatever they are doing. And for me, they are rather killing us to want to force the 1D1F into the system. Instead of going through the normal process, allow these people to pay their taxes and give us some relief by ourselves, they rather go behind, tax us, and go and give it free of charge to other people who are already established. For me, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. His record is not too good. Of course, I'm not expecting him to say that he hasn't done anything. Just like his vice president has said, you see, the vice president has passed a vote of no confidence in the president that he's advised to honor planquet to. He said that there are many things that he's not done well, and when he becomes the president, he's going to take a lot of those things away. So if your vice president says that, and you are beating your chest to say that you have done so well, you are leaving a good record, then what are you talking about? Your own person who you sit in the same office with to discuss issues and to take policy decisions and to drive them is the one who is saying that most of the things you are doing, he does not subscribe to them, and that when he becomes president, he's going to take them off. So for me, that alone is the testimonial that his vice president has written about him. I'm not expecting him to come and tell me that he hasn't done anything, but of course, to me and to many Ghanaians, he's done little, and he's the worst president I believe that we've ever had in Ghana.
That's a pretty harsh verdict. But anyway, let's get into the papers now and find out what you think about some of these stories. The Daily Graphic newspaper this morning. Constitutionality of anti-gay bill challenged. Then Ghana paved way for Africa. Alassane Ouattara, the Ivorian president, said so. But now mentioning Alassane Ouattara, yesterday I wasn't the only one. You watched the images and then you saw, I don't know whether it was a gaffe, because I hear the presidency or protocol said, oh, it wasn't a gaffe. But if you looked at the visage, the face of the president, and when his favorite chair, which is carried everywhere, was offered to Alassane Ouattara to sit on while he sat on a lower chair, you could tell something was not exactly kosher. Something was not going according to plan. And if you thought I only noticed it, people in-house noticed it. People on social media watching noticed it. And the question was that planned? Or was it a gaffe, so to speak? But Malta president arrives for 3-day state visit. 67th Independence Day celebration. Ghana beacon of hope, according to the president. Akufo-Addo set alight. On the back page, German ADB supports establishment of garment factory at Savelugu, and NRSA rolls out speed limit technology mid-year. So the National Road Safety Authority will roll out Traffic Tech, a technology-driven road traffic enforcement initiative, by the end of the second quarter of this year. Now, the automated speed limit enforcement program will be operationalized using cameras that have been mounted at vantage points on the country's roads and highways. And then, President Akufo-Addo has extolled Ghana's democratic credentials, citing the country as a beacon of hope amid failing structures in fellow developing economies. He said although the British granted Ghana its independence, the West African nation had developed on its own democratic values, defying the many failing systems around the sub-region and on the continent to reach new heights of democratic governance. He said democracy, as experienced by the country, was the work of Ghanaians, and that for the past 31 years, Ghana had enjoyed peaceful democratic governance. And he said also, for the over 100 years of British rule, the British did not prepare Ghanaians for democratic governance. But what could have been expected from a colonial power seeking its interest, not yours? I'll take a quick swipe at pages 13, and maybe I'll end at page 13 before we go on the international front. As for Alassane Ouattara saying that Ghana paved the way for Africa, I believe that goes without saying, so I will not belabor the point. But a Ghanaian broadcaster and legal practitioner, Richard Sky, has filed a suit at the Supreme Court challenging the constitutionality of the Human and Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, popularly known as the Anti-Gay Bill. Among other reliefs, the plaintiff is asking the court to restrain President Akufo-Addo from giving his assent to the bill for it to become law. In a writ invoking the jurisdiction of the Apex Court to interpret and enforce the Constitution, Mr. Sky is also seeking an order from the court to restrain the Speaker and Clerk of Parliament from presenting the bill to the President for him to give assent to it. He is further seeking an injunction against any attempt to enforce the bill, especially the aspect that criminalizes same-sex relationship. And it's a curious matter, Maxwell. It's a curious matter, that one, tomorrow, for my blunt thoughts, it's one of the things I'm going to be talking about from different angles. People like Richard Sky, their positionings in the past and their current positionings, and whether there's any dichotomy. He's explained himself, and even people like Sam George, past and present. But what do you make of these stories I've read? So the constitutionality of the anti-gay bill, then Ghana as a beacon of hope, according to the president, and on the back page, the National Road Safety Authority rolling out speed limit technology mid-year. Your take?
Yeah, sure. So our democratic credentials, Ghana being the beacon of hope, yes, I agree that most of us have contributed to this. That's why some of us, during the 67th Independence Day celebration, we had to do a lot of retrospection and introspection. We want to see how far we have come as a country. Those who laid the basis for us to follow what we have all contributed as individuals and where we are now and where we hope to go. It's worth noting that governments and oppositions have all held us to do the best that we can do. The issue is our best practices as a country. We've done our bit and we are getting to where we intend to go to. We have some few lapses that we need to correct. Of course, we are not confident about where we are now, though, because the index, the democratic index, according to research, has fallen to the level we are not expecting it to be, and we expect to do better than we are doing. The Electoral Commission, when it comes to our processes of democracy and election, have not been up as we expect them to be. Yes, the president has said that every time we go to the polls, we do things better than we used to do in the past, and we grow and we become better by the day.
Right.
But the question, at the last time when 8 people were killed during our polls, what have we done about it? Has the president made mention of this thing anywhere in any of his speeches? What has been done to the people who had to shoot people and kill and maim the rest of them? So are we growing by killing 8 people in our election, or we are going back? So for me, in as much as I agree that we've all contributed to what we are experiencing today, Alassane Ouattara has credited us for being pace setters in most of these things. But I think that once we can grow beyond some of these little things, like the EC we are experiencing today, who have so many bodyguards guarding her for whatever reasons.
Right. I don't think that is the main issue. What is the thrust of what you're saying? The many bodyguards, that one. But what is the thrust of what you're saying? Because of time.
We used to know Afarijan. We used to see the former Charlotte Osei. Their consciences were clear. They had nothing to hide. And so they were walking in town freely. But why would all of a sudden our electoral commissioner have 6 military bodyguards walking in town? It means he has something to hide and she's afraid of something. So for me...
So because the person has more bodyguards, the person is doing something foul and has something to hide. Is that the logical reasoning?
How many bodyguards do you have walking in town? Because you don't have anything to hide. So once you are afraid that somebody may...
I am not a public official. Unless even the celebrities, so-called, how many of them walk around with bodyguards?
Yeah, so my point is that, you see, when people, they say your appearances show who you are. So once you come to town and you are so scared about yourself, it means there's something you are hiding and there's something you are afraid of.
Okay.
My point is that the last election we held, this particular issue had to change the result how many times? 6 times. 8 people died. Nothing has been said and done about them. So she's afraid that somebody may maim her. That's why she goes to town with all these bodyguards. So my point is that, yes, in as much as we are saying that we are growing in our democracy and we are the beacon of hope, there are little things here and there that we can watch and grow beyond that, and then we can tout our democratic credentials. Now, about the LGBTQ plus thing, yes, we have said it already. Richard Sky, I want to believe that somebody is pushing him to do whatever he's doing. Yes, of course.
He hasn't come out to say that, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But like I said, tomorrow I'll reflect on some of his thoughts and posts in the past versus now. But of course, he can explain. He's given an explanation. We'll be fair in analyzing all of those. But he's entitled to his opinion.
I heard Akufo-Addo the very day the bill was passed in Parliament, specifically mentioning Richard Sky that he can go and test the law in the Supreme Court. Did you hear him say that? Did you hear Akufo-Addo?
It wasn't shown on air here, but I know he said that.
Yes, he said it. So my point is that if Akufo-Addo could specifically mention Richard Sky and his group, that he can go test that, and the next day or two, we saw him in the Supreme Court. It only presupposes that it's something somebody has cooked somewhere and is given to him to go and present. And so for me, it's nothing strange to me. That's their modus operandi, and that is the way they wish to go through this time around. And I'm sure the Supreme Court is waiting for them. They are people of conscience, and I'm sure they will do the right thing. The thing hasn't become a law. How then do you go and challenge its constitutionality or otherwise? Of course, he's saying that Parliament should be restrained from sending this bill to the President. The President should also be restrained from signing. The President himself has already indicated to the House that he wasn't going to sign until the court processes are over.
But there's an interesting perspective. Some have said, for example, that there was a challenge to the e-levy at the Supreme Court back in the day. But President, hold for me. President Akufo-Addo went on to sign the e-levy. But in this instance, if the court strikes it down, it's going to be well nigh impossible for Parliament, even with 2/3 majority, to go ahead with this, because then the courts would have said it was unconstitutional, unless that could lead to some friction between two arms of government, or even three, because now there seems to be a lack of consensus between the legislature and the executive, and you could then rope in the judiciary. It could be a three-way fight. I don't know. A wrestling match or something of the sort. I'm not sure, but I guess opinions are opinions, and we'll see how things go. I guess the courts will also take into consideration all the other surrounding issues and matters. But let's go on the international front. Liberian president sets up task force to trace stolen state assets, and Liberian President Joseph Boakai has issued an executive order to identify and recover stolen state assets and prosecute complicit current and former officials under a crackdown on graft launched since his January inauguration. The order will establish a task force that will have the legal mandate and state funding to investigate and retrieve wrongfully acquired government assets and seek the expedition of the suspects involved, the presidency said in a statement. It did not name any suspects, but it's going on this. Would that we could do this in Ghana? You know, I don't care, NDC or MPP. It actually reminds me of, in a way, Peter Alajete leaving office and some furniture. Ghana, Kenya. Our country is funny. Your side is complicit, the other side is complicit. People, if we wanted to crack the whip and do the right thing on these things, I don't know how many of these officials would survive. But Kenyan politician vows fresh challenge to Haiti police deployment. A Kenyan opposition leader said he would launch a fresh core challenge to a plan to send police officers to gang-ravaged Haiti after the two countries signed a deal last week intended to fast-track the stalled deployment. And on page 9, where I'll end, also on the international front, Biden-Trump dominates Super Tuesday races. And so if you look at the count, the primary delegate count, Donald Trump has 1,051, while Nikki Haley, who pulled a surprise in Vermont, and also she won in Washington, D.C., has 86. Joe Biden has 1,568, and those uncommitted are 10. So I guess it's smooth sailing for both candidates. It's going to be part 2 of Biden and Trump. And Navalny's widow urges Russians to protest on election day. That's in Russia. Any thoughts, or should I move on to the Ghanaian Times newspaper?
Let's go to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Yes, of course. I would have made my thoughts known about this Liberia president going after public assets.
You can go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So for me, like you said earlier, this thing should not be mentioned. They should not be said about that. Because for you to hold a public office to become a minister or a minister of state, you should be at some level of your life where you can provide some of these things for yourself. You should be, some countries, you should be able to provide your own you should provide residence for yourself, or you should have your own residence to be able to stay and do government work. You should be able to buy your own cars and drive your own cars. Once you are living, you live with it. Like parliamentarians, they were given loan to purchase their own vehicles. So why not state officials, so that they can also do it when they are going, you have a loan and you pay out. So for people to leave office and to be chased, and for government vehicles and other things, for them to be chased, to be retrieved, it beats my imagination. How? You have come to office, you have come to meet the thing. Right. You leave and you, and a new government they have to buy I remember President Akufo-Addo came and said he was not going to buy new vehicles. Before we knew, they moved from Nissan Patrols and then Pajeros, and now they are buying Lexus for all the officers. Plenty of them. So some of this, and I'm sure that when they are leaving, they also take plenty of them away. And when we can, we'll also be chasing them for it. It doesn't speak well of us as a people. And for me, it's a waste of the taxpayers' money, yes.
Right. Let's quickly get into other papers. At 67th Independence Day in Koforidua, let's build consensus on our values. President admonishes Ghanaians. I'm actually interested. He mentions values, and the LGBTQ bill is also right there. Journalist goes to Supreme Court over LGBTQ plus bill. We've already spoken about that. Appointments Committee vets ministerial nominees, and 4 secessionists jailed 17 years. That's the story I'll look at in the Ghanaian Times, the secessionists. So 4 executive members of the Western Togoland Restoration Front have been sentenced to a total of 17 years imprisonment by the Accra High Court. Now, this was after the court presided over by Justice Mary Mame Kyei-Mensah found them guilty on various charges preferred against them. The accused, including a policeman and soldier, were tried on charges of being members of a prohibited organization, summoning meetings of prohibited organizations, attending meetings of a prohibited organization, and making contributions for the benefit of a prohibited organization. And so they were sentenced, but Michael Koku Kwabla Ametonu Gohe, aka Togbe Yesu Eduji, and a founder of the WTRF, was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. The court also imposed a fine of 12,000 cedis on Gohe, and in default, he would serve 1 year imprisonment. You can check out more details of that story in there. The Daily Guide also captures that story. Western Togoland Prime Minister and others jailed 17 years. Of course, we know the late Charles Komi Kujoji, aka Papavi, he has actually met his maker. Would you like to reflect on those before I bring in other stories from the Daily Guide?
Secessionist group, I think that, yes, government should deal with them the way the law prescribes. It's just unfortunate that usually when we get to election year, then we hear a lot more about these secessionist groups and their activities. And then the last time it was out of this that our borders in the Volta region were closed and heavily marked with security men during the elections. I don't know for whatever reason, but we're beginning to think that usually during election year, these things come up. And to put a lot of fear in the voters in the Volta region to prevent them from doing their movements very easily and also affecting our voter turnout in the Volta region. I don't want to believe that it's a subtle way of putting that fear back in us in the Volta region. It should be a genuine thing they are doing. People should be tried, yes. But the question is, how long have they been arrested? Yes, of course, the legal process grinds slowly. But I don't want it to transcend beyond law and order into wanting to bring more soldiers into the Volta region again, because we are approaching an election period that a lot of things that were done in the past would also happen again. That's my only fear, and I pray that it doesn't happen. But all things being equal, once you go against the law, you have to be punished, yes.
All right, so the other stories. We've overcome economic challenges, Nana-Addo says so. In fact, reading from page 3, he says, fellow Ghanaians, I know that we have gone through difficult economic circumstances, but it is clear that we have overcome the worst and we should be looking forward to better times. If we have to take pride in being Ghanaian, there should be a consensus on the values we hold dear, and we should transmit them to every generation. This bit about values gets my attention. But there's also Mahama NDC boycott Independence Day celebration. Let's unite to build Ghana. Baumia says so. Let me look at that other story on page 3 and get your responses. So, former President John Dramani Mahama and the opposition NDC made a strong statement by boycotting the 67th Independence celebration yesterday. Instead, Mahama issued a statement from home emphasizing the need for quality leadership, improved governance, and a robust economy. Why did your side boycott something as national as the Independence Day celebration? And what do you think about Akufo-Addo saying we've overcome our economic challenges and that we should stick to our values as a country? Quick thoughts?
Yeah, so Akufo-Addo is speaking from the comfort of his office in the Jubilee House. And so what he sees is what he says. But those of us down here know that we have not come close to overcoming anything, let alone turning the corner, as they say. I'm not sure we have. The situation is still that. We saw one of our parliamentarians, lady, on the floor of Parliament with kenke, with bread, and also with a bag of 5 kg or 4.5 kg rice, talking about the price difference between 2016 and now. And if that is overcoming our economic woes, then I believe that the president is talking in a negative direction. We have not come close anywhere to overcoming them. The macroeconomic indicators are there to guide us. And I'm not sure anybody is proud now as a Ghanaian, the situation we are having. Have we not experienced further depreciation of the CD? We are going over 13 CDs now. So what's the president talking about? What is there? What is new for us to beat our chest about and say that we are doing good? Values, he said, LGBT is not a value.
And that should be your final point in about 30, 40 seconds. We have to go.
It's not a value. Corruption is not a value. Galamsey is not a value. Has he spoken about any of these things in his State of the Nation address? And he's talking about us holding dear to our values. I beg his pardon. He should go back and look at these things and come back and talk to us. I think that the president only throws words at us, not understanding or not too sure what he wants to tell us. Maybe somebody just wrote a thing for him to read through. But I'm not sure he has seriously reflected over this. I'm not sure if he did, he would be talking to us about this thing. Because seriously, we are decaying. And everything indicates that we are not doing better than we used to do in the past. And so he should review his notes and come back to us proper.
Maxwell, thank you very much for your time. The last headlines, the Accra Times, of Daily Guides falls a reportage. PNC guru jumps to defend Bagbin. Akufo-Addo was in Parliament to fulfill Article 67 and nothing more. Murtala Muhammad says that the Tamale Central lawmaker. Ablakwa slams Akufo-Addo for lacking compassion. Afram Plains North MP chases government over projects and ensure peace in Boku. Avoca charges Akufo-Addo to avert terrorist infiltration. Maxwell Lukutor is the NDC's parliamentary candidate for South Tone, and he joined us. Max, wonderful day.